Hello everyone, I'm back with a new YouTube video. As you know, my channel mainly in the past has consisted of coin operated devices. And this time I wanted to go over my pinball machines I've had over the years. I got my first pinball machine in 1987. And so it's been 38 years, and in that 38 years of my life, I have owned 13 different pinball machines, and I have all the flyers here. I'm going to show you for each one. They're all in chronological order when I own them. So I'm going to try to go over memories of how I bought and sold them, and how much I paid for them, or what happened. I'm going to try to remember, see if I can bring back any memories. Right now, out of 13 that are listed here, I only have two left. So, anyway, we're starting back from 1987. Let's start with back in 1987. My first pinball machine that started it all. It's called Phoenix, and it's a 1978 model. This was the first pinball machine I ever owned. It has a pink cabinet, which I thought was kind of interesting. And anyway, I bought this out of the newspaper. You got to remember, this was before the internet. So I bought this out of the newspaper. It was $300. So you got to think how long ago that was. A Phoenix today would probably cost, I have no idea, but it'd probably be a couple thousand, I guess. But anyway, got it for $300. It all worked and everything. One of the flipper buttons on the side, had a cigarette burn mark on it. And I wanted to replace it, but you got to remember, this was back before the internet. There was only newspapers, and there wasn't any way of getting pinball parts unless you knew somebody. So I just had to live with that cigarette burn on the flipper button. But me and my friend would play bar. It went down the basement, and my parents had a bar down there, and we would have bar fights and stuff. And and the Phoenix pinball machine would be down there. Beautiful artwork. If you could ever see the playfield on this thing, it's absolutely gorgeous. Very cool game, and not a talking game, but that was still cool though. So I paid $300 for it. And then I think I sold it back in 1992, and I have no memory at all of how much I sold it for, or who I sold it for to, or how I sold it. But 1992 was still before the internet, so we must have put an ad in the paper for it. So hopefully I at least broke even on it. But anyway, that was my very first pinball game. The next game I got in the past, I got this probably in 1991 or 1992. It's called Out of Sight. It's a 1974 game. Got this at a garage sale. It was an impulse buy, $90. Can you imagine getting a pinball machine like that today for $90? Electrical mechanicals, people are wanting like over $1,000 for these electrical mechanical pinball games now. But I got it for $90, and it was a good game. I do not remember when I sold it. I do not know how long I had it, but I must have sold it before 1994, so I probably only had it for a couple of years. But I generally just liked to work on them and stuff. I always thought it was fun. It was more fun to work on them rather than to play them. I like to take them apart and clean them and stuff. But anyway, yeah, $90. $90 for a working pinball game. So yeah. But unfortunately, I do not remember how I sold it. Again, it was probably in the newspaper, because this was still before the internet. So hopefully I at least broke even. My next game I probably got in 1993. It is a triple action from 1973. This was probably one of my favorite pinball games. It was only a one-player game. And this was back in the day before the internet still. I do not remember how much I paid for it. I do not remember where I got it, but it did work. But I remember I used to oil the electromagnets, the bar that goes inside the electromagnets that pop in and out. I used to oil those, and you're not supposed to do that. Those were meant not to be oiled, but I would oil them because if you do oil them, after a while they will get hot and they will get sticky after a while. But still, even though I did oil them, I never had any problems with it. I was just uneducated back then. But this is basically a Hollywood themed pinball game from 1973. There's a movie reel on the playfield with two bars sticking up, and the pinball would, if you hit it, it would, you try to spin the movie reel around as much as you possibly can. But yeah, I do not remember how much I paid for it. I do not remember how much I sold it for. But anyway, that was definitely one of my favorite games, and I do miss that game quite a lot. So hopefully at least broke even on it. Next game I got, I do not remember. I think this was still before the internet. I must have got this sometime in the early '90s. These are all in order that I've owned them from what I can recollect. Probably got this in 1993, probably, and enjoyed it at home. It's called High Speed from 1986. It had a siren on top that would flash. But my friend's mom owned a bar in town, and she let me put the pinball machine in there, and we made some money off it. Collected a whole bunch of quarters and stuff. But the customers at the bar did not like the siren, so they took the light bulb out. I did not appreciate that at all, because again, this was before the internet, and I did not know. I did not have a way of replacing that light bulb. But all they had to do was tell me to turn the light bulb off, because there's a setting in there to turn to turn the siren off. But I have a memory with this game back in the late 80s. There was a laundromat that had this game in there, and my mom would do her laundry at this laundromat sometimes, and they had this high speed game in there, and I would just play it for hours. And definitely a fun game. How much did I pay for that? Where did I get it? I do not remember. But what I paid for it, I must have paid probably about $400 or $500. No, probably about $600 for it. Probably, I'm guessing. And I remember I sold it at the newspaper. I think I ended up selling it for only like $400. And again, this was before the internet, so when you put an ad in the paper, your prospects are lowered. So, and I had to sell it because long story, but I had to sell it because what I was going through in life. So yeah. Okay, bought this game in the early 90s, probably 1992, probably. Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man Pinball Machine. And I bought this because I thought that Pac-Man Pinball was going to be a collector's item. I thought this is going to be worth $1 million someday. It's Pac-Man. How can I go wrong? I tell you what, Pac-Man Pinball Machine has never been a collector's item ever. But it's a good game, though. It's a fun game. I paid $400 for it. Again, I do not remember how I sold it or how much I sold it for, but I did pay $400 for it. It was in some guy's giant warehouse or something. I think he was a private collector, and that was definitely a fun game. Okay, now we're looking at the year 2000. This is Victory from 1987. Bought this from an arcade that was at the local mall. Paid $600 for it. When I got it home that night, he told me not turn on and wait until it warms up to room temperature. So I got too anxious and I plugged it in and the power supply stopped working. So short-lived. I only owned it for a month. I ended up trading it for a jukebox. So yeah, because I didn't know how to fix the power supply. Okay, we got a Valet Spectra that I got in the year 2003. It's a tabletop pinball game from 1978, the Spectra 4. And you cannot work on these because the playfield is riveted in there, so you'd have to drill all the rivets out. and I bought it not working correctly. It would power up, but it wasn't working, and so I thought I was gonna work on it. But anyway, and ended up I paid like $300 for it. I ended up selling it for like $225. Okay, next game I bought online. I paid $600 for it plus $300 shipping, so that's a total of $900. Bally's Escape for the Lost World. Had it for many years, enjoyed it, never had any problems with it. Ended up selling it for $1,200 just not too long ago. So that's a good game. 4 flipper game, 2 level play field. Definitely a good game. Okay, the next item on my list, I bought this online. I had to drive quite a bit to go get it. Royal Flash. Ended up getting it for $150. All the wires were cut on the inside from the back box on down to the playfield. They were all cut. Luckily, they were all color coded, so I was able to put them all back together and get the game working again. Bought it for $150. Ended up selling it for $225 back in 2019. So yeah, that's a good game. That's a Chicago coin game. Royal Flash 1964. Next game on my list, I traded this online. I traded Jukebox even for this big league game. It's a pitch and bat game. So altogether, I probably had $900 invested into it. I ended up selling it for like $400 because I just wanted more room, and I just wanted rid of it. So I gave the guy a good deal, and it was still working when I got it. But I did a lot of touch up artwork on it. The back glass was flaking, and I was able to do some touch up artwork on that. So Big League is another good game. 1966 Big League that I owned. Okay. This is the same guy that I got the Big League game from, but I also got this gondola game that I traded a slot machine even for a slot machine. A 1949 gondola. Electrical mechanical game. One of the first flipper games that came out on it. So that's a good game. And I still own that game. Earthshaker, bought this in 2019, I think. Also paid $800 for it. The playfield needed some restoration work on it. I was able to touch up the artwork on that using a computer, and it was before 2019. I think this was around 2010 actually. Paid $850 for it. Ended up selling it for $800. I just wanted it out of the house, make more room and stuff. So I gave the guy a good deal. So I probably sold it for way less because a Nurse Shaker nowadays is probably worth about at least $3,000, and mine was in great shape. So I probably should have been a little bit more greedy and sold it for a little bit more money. But that is definitely a good game though. Okay, the last game. I bought this game back in 2012 from an amusement dealer that went bankrupt, and it's peerless. It's a payout pinball machine. I still own it. The cabinet was all smashed up. The playfield glass was missing. I called a glass company, had one custom made for it. The front bar right here was missing. I had that done, and I got the ball shooter ball thing on there working too. So anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. This is my pinball machine collection from the past 38 years. You all have a good day.